Well, good morning, everyone. This is Jim Laughter. We are going to get kicked off in our part 4 of our review of John Maxwell's book, Developing the Leader Within You. And we're going to see if we can mine a few nuggets out of here and just see if we can just make something happen. I want to make sure my volume is up good here. I didn't think it was. All right, here we go. So we're going to get into this. We're going to get into this study today and just see what we can find. This is really, as far as I'm concerned, this review today is probably going to be the most important one of the entire series. We could actually stop after today on this review and I think we would have done enough, but I told you I was going to review this whole book, and I'm working very diligently to get that done. So I'm going to share my screen with you here, and we'll just pull this rascal up, see what we can find. Okay. All right, here we go. And so I want to pull my picture over here where it needs to be. And let's just hope this works like I think it's going to work. If it does, it does great. If it doesn't, well, we'll just do it again. So in any case, so we are talking about John Maxwell's book, the Developing the Leader Within You, and we have covered so far chapter 1. Now, I'm not going to do this every week where we go back and review everything. But by the time we get to the end of the book, it would be massive, and it would take an hour just to do the review. So I don't want to do that. But I do want to catch us up to where we're at, and then I'll figure out another way to get the information. Of course, the best way to get the information for you is just to go back and look at it, and look at the different ones and watch them a time or two. There's always something that you miss. So far, what we've looked at is chapter 1, and that's the definition of leadership, and have decided that we could boil the word leadership down to one word, and that word was influence. Why? Because everybody influences somebody in some way. You make an impact on people's lives, people make an impact on your lives, and as leaders in your business, whether it's a network marketing business, which we do, or whether it's if you own a store, if you're a school teacher, it doesn't matter what it is, you're in some kind of a leadership position. People make an influence on you, and you make an influence on them. And as a leader, you have to decide how you're going to let people influence you, and more importantly, how you are going to influence them. So, pardon me, go back and do the studies and look at influence. I think it'll help you. Then we looked at chapter 2. We looked at the key to leadership and determined that the key to leadership can also be boiled down to one word, and that word is priorities. And we talked at length last session about setting priorities, not just doing things, but doing things in the order that they should be done. We all have busy work. I wish I could think of the word. There's a 17th century word. I can't think of the name of it. It's snuggles or buggles or something. I'll have to look it up. But there's a 17th century word that says that it's the idea of doing something and getting nothing done. And a lot of times that is what happens to us in business, is that we'll do a lot of stuff. We'll make lists, and we'll alphabetize them, put little stars by names. We'll think, oh boy, this is going to be great. I'm going to get out and I'm going to talk to these people, and then never call them. So you spend a couple of hours getting your list in order, and then never talk to anybody. That's that word. I'm going to find that word this week, and I'll see if I can put it on next week and then see if we can figure it out. So priorities, what is important? And not just what is important now. What do I need to do? It's not just what do I need to do, it's what do I need to do now? What do I need to get done now? Priorities. We looked at the key to success, and we determined that the key to success in any endeavor is ability to lead others successfully. We are trying in every way we can, and I know you are, and so am I, is trying to develop the leader within you, because somewhere hidden away inside of you, there's a leader. Somewhere hidden away, it may be tucked away somewhere, but somewhere inside of you, there's a leader just wanting to get out. I call him the tiger. There's a tiger inside of you just wanting to get out. Everything rises and falls on leadership, everything. No matter what you do, where you're at, what business you're in, whether you're in a business or in a family relationship, it doesn't matter what it is. Everything rises and falls on leadership. People follow leaders. And if you want to be a leader, you've got to get yourself to a position to where you can be followed. Leadership is not an exclusive club for those born with it. Okay, you're not necessarily born a leader. Leadership is developed. Leadership is not discovered. Just because you may be, or just because you or somebody you know may be born into an influential political family or a religious family or something like that, does not necessarily mean that that person is a leader. We've all seen it, especially in Christianity and Christian churches and that sort of thing, or in businesses. I don't want to pick on the Christian church too much, but you'll see in business many times that the father or whoever, father, the grandfather, those family-owned businesses that come down through the generations, and just by virtue of their birth, a person will step into a management position who may have absolutely no business being a manager, but they come into that position simply because they're born into it. Does not mean that they are qualified. It just means that they are born into it. Leadership is developed. Leadership is something that you have to work on. You have to put in the right stuff so you can get the right stuff out. That's why we do these book reviews, because I want to pour into you the thought, the idea that you can develop the leader that's within you. We also looked at these 5 steps. We climbed these 5 steps to leadership, or 5 levels of leadership. The first one being position. And that's what I just spoke about. And that's the position, the level of rights. This is where somebody is hired into a management position, and the employees that work in that division or that business or whatever has to follow that person's instructions simply because they have that position. They're the boss. People who work there have no choice. They have to follow whether they want your leadership or not. So if you're a boss somewhere, make sure that you are a good one. When I was in the service, the people who worked for me, I was superintendent of training and also of inventory, and I had an office and had a crew, and sometimes I was a good boss and sometimes I wasn't, and so my crew made me a plaque to put on my desk and to let me know where I stood in their eyes sometimes. And the first side of it was a 2-sided plaque, and the first side said boss, BOSS. But on the back side of it, where I could see it, it was backwards, and it said double SOB. And so when I'd come in the morning, it determined, I could look at that plaque from when I sat at my desk, and I could know how my crew thought about me the day before. Okay, was I being a good boss, or was I being a double SOB? Okay, you can put the words into it. All right. And then the second step is permission. This is the level of relationships. This is where people follow you because they want to. This is where people will follow you because they believe in you, they trust in you. They don't have to, but they want to follow you. And this is the leadership position that I hope we strive for. Then there's a level of production. This is leaders who get things done. People will follow you because of what you do for the organization, for your accomplishments, for not just sitting in a chair being a boss, but because they follow you because you get things done. I would much rather work for a person who gets things done than just somebody who sits around and drinks coffee all day. Although I do have a perfectly good cup of coffee here in front of me that I plan to swill while we're doing this. Then number 4 was people development. This is the level of reproduction, not just getting things done, not just production, but reproduction. This is where people follow you because of what you have done for them. This is where you reproduce yourself. We call this in network marketing, we call this duplication. I want to be so good at my network marketing business that people who I bring into my business want to be me. I want them to say, okay, what is Jim doing? That's what I want to do. If Jim is making calls and setting appointments and showing the business plan, I want to be like Jim. I want to reproduce Jim's efforts. Why? Because eventually I'm going to have other people come up under me that I want them to reproduce me if I can reproduce Jim. I hope that makes some sense to you. And then there's personhood, and personhood is just simply that. This is people follow you because of you are who you represent. People can look at you and say that is a genuine person. All right, let's scoot right along here and let's get into our study today. So this session is we're gonna jump into chapter 3. There's only a few pages in the book in chapter 3, but it's just loaded with all kinds of stuff. And so I'm hoping that we can get into this thing and really dig some good stuff out of it without getting too crazy. I told you I was going to try to hold these sessions to 45 minutes. It may work, it may not. It looks like they're going to average out about an hour, but we'll just see. If you don't like what I'm saying, fast forward. If you really don't like what I'm saying, turn it off. It's entirely up to you. I do this for you. So this session is chapter 3, and we're going to talk about integrity. Integrity is the most important ingredient of leadership. There's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about in these next few chapters. We're going to talk about vision. We're going to talk about making positive change. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Staff development. We're going to talk about self-discipline. We're going to talk about people skills and attitude. All these different things we're going to talk about, and all of that is meaningless if you don't have integrity. Integrity is the most important ingredient of leadership. You can see this picture I just flashed up on the screen. Some of you will recognize this, and some of you won't. This is a picture out of one of my favorite movies. You know, I talk a lot about movies and different books and stuff like that. This is a picture taken out of a screenshot, taken out of one of my favorite movies, and the movie is Rob Roy. Now, again, this is copyrighted material. It's copyrighted by MGM Studios, made in 1995. You can see it on the screen, starring Liam Neeson, which is one of my favorite actors, and Jessica Lange. And Liam Neeson is a Scottish Highlander, and he is tasked with his task is to save the people who he is the leader of his clan. And you'll just have to go back and watch the movie. I don't want to get into all of it, but he's one of these Scottish Highlanders that everything, family is important to him and honor is important to him. And so there's a scene during the movie that he's talking to his sons. One of his sons' name is Connor. The other one's called Duncan. I believe that's their names. In any case, so one of the boys, I don't remember which one it is, asked him a question. He says, Father, they're talking about honor. And he says, Father, what is honor? And the character Rob Roy tells his son, honor, which is a synonym for integrity. He says, honor is a man's gift to himself. And so while we're going through this study and we're talking about integrity, you can combine integrity with the word honor and you'll pretty much have the same definition. But honor is a man's gift to himself. So we're going through this study looking at integrity. The definition of integrity, I'm going to shoot through this as quickly as I can, but integrity is a noun. Integrity is a living thing. Remember what you know what a noun is. It's a person, place, or a thing. It's a noun. It's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. Used in a sentence, he is known to be a man of integrity. This is a word that is bandied about, particularly in the political arena, where a person will run for a political office, and their whole campaign, a lot of times, is just to let the people know who are in their constituency that I am a man that can be trusted. I am upright. I am honorable. Look at the synonyms. I'm honest. I have a real rectitude. Boy, I tell you what, I'm just the guy that you're looking for. And they build their campaign on integrity. And we're led to believe that people that we put into political office are honest, that they're upright, that they are honorable. The sentence there, upholding territorial integrity and national sovereignty. That's another way of saying that something that you have, something that you possess, should be undivided, that it's a state of being whole. I hope that makes sense. That's why we have in our Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, okay, with liberty and justice for all of that, okay. So we are an undivided nation. We are a nation of integrity. Other synonyms is unity, unification, wholeness, coherence, cohesion, integrity. So bring this down to you and decide for yourself, am I going to be somebody who, when I say something, and people will know that this is exactly who I am. Integrity. The book says, when I have integrity, my words and my deeds match up. I am who I am, no matter where I am or who I am with. That's kind of like old Popeye the Sailor Man used to say, I am who I am. Okay, I ain't nothing different. So when you have integrity, the words that you speak will match the deeds that you do, that you will be who you are no matter who you're with. You don't have to put on airs. There's you ever watched some of the TV commercials that are on television? The one that I particularly hate is a TV commercial. I don't want to say the name of the company. I'll try absolutely not to say the name of the company. But there's a TV commercial that comes on that says for $9.95 a month, you can have full coverage life insurance. And then the people come and say, well, I'm 65 years old. How much will it cost me? $9.95 a month. I've had bad health. What would it cost me? $9.95 a month. What they don't tell you, because hidden within TV commercials, they only tell you a surface truth. What they don't tell you is that $9.95 is good for one unit of insurance, not the whole policy. So the average insurance policy average unit of insurance is $1,000. And so for $9.95, you can have $1,000 worth of insurance. Well, if the average funeral costs $10,000, that would mean you would need 10 units of insurance at $9.95 per unit, or roughly $100 a month. They don't tell you that on the commercial. They just tell you that you can have full coverage insurance to cover your final expenses, and we all do that. I've done it. We've arranged our funerals and got that all covered, so the kids don't have to worry about that. But they don't. It's a surface truth, and in my opinion, that is a lack of integrity. I called for that insurance just to get a quote at my age, because I wanted to find out if the units changed per age, and they do. And so at my age bracket, I'm 69 years old. I called when I was a young kid and I was only 68, but I called and asked what would be my coverage and what would it cost me to get insurance. And my coverage, as you can guess, was $9.95 a month. $9.95. I could have full coverage insurance for $9.95 a month. And then I asked the all-telling question, well, how much insurance does that $9.95 cost me? Because that's $9.95 per unit. How much coverage is one unit? And in my age bracket, it was $565, not $1,000. And so for a $10,000 for a $10,000 funeral, I would have needed somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 units. I think it was actually 14 units at $9.95 a month, or roughly $140 to $150 a month premium. So to me, that was only a surface truth. And so you've got to be careful when you're telling people things, particularly if you're in network marketing business. You want to make absolutely sure that you're not skimming along the surface of truth. Now, I'm not saying that you have to explain everything to everybody every time, but I am saying that people need to know that you don't have a hidden agenda. This is not only true in business, this is true in your personal life. It reminds me of these two fellas that are, not these two fellas, that's another story altogether. It reminds me of this guy who goes into to a business and to apply for a job. And on the application, there's the question. This is always on most applications. You can look it up. You can probably count on it. But it said, the question is, have you ever been arrested? And the answer is yes or no. So you check yes or no, or circle it, whatever it is on the application. Actually on computers now, it's mostly, you just click a button. But, and so the applicant answered no. Immediately after the question, there's a line and it says, why? So the idea of the application was, if a person answered yes, he would have to explain why he had been arrested. But if he said no, then of course that didn't apply and he wouldn't have to answer that question. But he said no, and then at the question why, he typed in, I guess it's because I've never been caught. Okay. And so he's never been arrested, but it's only because he'd never been caught. So there was something lacking in his integrity there. There's all kinds of things that you've got to watch for. It's kind of like these two business white collar executives who get arrested And one of them says, all along, I thought our level of corruption fell well within the community standards. I thought, I mean, I know we were corrupt, but really, I mean, are they really going to hold this against us? So there's all kinds of lack of integrity that we have to watch out for. I mean, watch for it in everything around you and weigh that against what you believe is a standard of integrity that you need to abide by. We find corruption and we find lack of integrity all through our society. You find it at the White House, you find it at the Pentagon, you find it at the church. You find lack of integrity a lot of times, even in your local church and sports. There's a lack of integrity in sports. Sports figures think they can get away with just anything simply because they're a sports figure. There's daycare centers. There's all kinds of there's lacks of integrity in daycare centers where children are mistreated, and these are places that you take your children because you trust it. You trust the word of people who say they have integrity. I remember years and years ago, it's been 1974, I guess, probably 74, 75. I guess it was early in 1975. Wilma and I lived in a major city in Texas, and we were deeply involved in a local church. And the pastor was a well-renowned man. I'm not going to tell you his name because some of you would know him. But the church that we went to was very controlling, and the church doctrine was very restrictive, and they preached against things. Of course, the smoking, the drinking, the cussing, that sort of thing. Of course, that's just normal, everyday stuff for churches to preach against. That's the sin factor, of course. And then they kind of delved off into other things. The pastor preached against. He preached against school sports. If you had kids in school, the kids couldn't play on the sports teams simply because they had to wear shorts, and shorts was prohibitive. Men could not wear shorts. Women could not wear pants. Women had to have their hair real super long. Men had to wear long sleeve shirts all the time. But your children couldn't play sports. As an adult, you were not allowed to follow sports. So you couldn't go to ball games. You couldn't do anything that had to do with any kind of organized sports because that took away from your spirituality. Okay, it was very controlling. And so one day or one weekend, Wilma and I invited the pastor of our church and his wife to come to our home and have dinner with us. We bought some steaks. We was really going to act like we were living. We were actually. I guess it's probably a lack of integrity on my part because we really couldn't afford the steaks. But in any case, so when the pastor and his wife arrived at our home, it was after church on Sunday, and the Sunday paper had hardly come. It was laying on my coffee table, and the pastor of the church walked in. He took the paper off my coffee table, sat down in my easy chair, and took out the sports page. And I said, Pastor, hang on a second. He said, what? I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm just reading the paper. I said, no. I said, you got the sports page. I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, he says, I've just got to see, don't take this the wrong way, Jimmy, but I'm just trying to see how the Cowboys are doing, the Dallas Cowboys are doing. And I said, Pastor, you just spent the last half hour or so preaching against organized sports and how it's sinful to take away, to let that kind of organized sports take control of us and that sort of thing. And yet you're going to tell me that after you just preached to me about not being involved or following organized sports, you're going to sit in my easy chair in my home reading my paper about the Dallas Cowboys. I said, that is not right. And so from that day forward, I never had a good relationship with that particular pastor. Fortunately, we left that city. I was in the Air Force. We were transferred to another station not long after that, so I didn't have to fall under his leadership anymore. But from that moment on, I lost trust of that pastor simply because of my perceived lack of integrity. I hope this is making sense. I really do. I'm going to move on. I got a lot of other notes, but I'm just going to move on here. Here's my old buddy Socrates. And Socrates said the first key to greatness is to be in reality what we appear to be. This is something that we have to guard very closely whenever we're dealing with people, and particularly if you are in a leadership position. This is something that you have to guard closely. People will see you for who you are, but sometimes they perceive you to be something that you're not. So the first key to greatness is to be in reality what we appear to be. We've all seen it. Again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get on my soapbox again. But when people are in a position of trust, when you are put in a position of trust, whether you're put there just because you're hired there or whether you actually deserve to be there, you have to guard that position with every fiber of your being. I mean, think back. I'm going to give you an instance, and I'm not going to tell you the name of the person, but you'll know. You know what I do not, under any circumstance, watch televangelists. I don't. And a lot of it goes back to a preacher years ago who stood before his congregation crying because he had been with prostitutes and gotten caught. And I believe that the only reason that he actually came forward was not because he was convicted of his sin, but because he got caught. And so he stood before his congregation and cried, please forgive me. I have sinned. And he cried and he cried and he blubbered and blubbered, and stayed in the position of the pastor, the leader of that church. Forgiveness is something that his congregation forgave him. They accepted his repentance to God as well as to them, because if you are in a leadership position, you've got to make it right with your group if for some reason you failed in your leadership. And so he did that. He came before his congregation and he cried and he repented. He did all of that. And then what really made it bad was then he went back and did it again. And is to this day, he got caught again. And then to this day is still the leader of that congregation. To me, that is a lack of integrity. And so mistakes will be made. And in your leadership position, you will make mistakes. We all do. Okay. Doing it once is a mistake. Doing it over and over again is a habit. Okay. So the first key to greatness, according to Socrates, I don't think he owned a shirt. I've never seen him with a shirt on. Who cares? The first key to greatness is to be in reality what we appear to be. When you look at me, I hope that you see a person of integrity. Most of you who watch this on YouTube don't know me, so I hope that at least I project that I'm good. So let me give you a few examples here, then we're going to move on. This is just some things to consider that are in the book. It says, if what I say and what I say and what I do are the same, the results will be consistent. I say to my employees, be at work on time. And if I arrive on time, they will arrive on time. But if I say to my employees, be to work on time, but I'm consistently coming to work late, this is going to rub off on my employees, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So some will be to work on time and some won't. Some will have their own sense of integrity, and the others will just say, well, if Jim does it, then I can do it. If I say to my employees, be positive, and I exhibit an attitude of positivity, the chances are they'll be positive. But if I say to my employees, be positive, and I'm always negative and down in the mouth, some of them will have their own sense of integrity. They'll still be positive, but the others who are looking at me will do what I do. I hope that makes sense. And so relating this to network marketing, we build teams of people, and staying positive, being honest and forthright is necessary. It's absolutely vital in network marketing. So if I ask my network marketing group to attend events, and I go to the events, they will attend events and go to the events. But if I say, be involved in events, and I don't go, and I shun the events because I think I already know everything, there's nothing they could teach me. I don't need to go, but you do. That's going to create within my business a tension that people will look at me and say, well, if he doesn't think he needs it, then why do I need it? Okay, I hope that makes sense. I've got a whole bunch of stuff to preach about that, but I'm just not going to do it. Integrity is not what we do as much as who we are. Integrity is not as much what we do as who we are. Okay, let me just see where I am at here. There's a portion in the book here that says 89% of what people learn comes through visual stimulation. In fact, let me get that up on the screen. 89% of what people learn comes through visual stimulation. 1%, or 89 through visual, 10% through audible stimulation, and 1% through other senses. So people will watch you as their leader, and they will do what you do because they see you do it. 89%. 10% is through listening, through audible. They'll hear what you're saying, and either they'll believe it, latch onto it, or they won't. And then the others are just through the other senses. I've got a young man in my business that called me the other day about a gentleman that he met, and I love this example. And he said he was in a store, and there was a clerk working behind one of the counters, and the clerk says, you know, I'm really tired of standing behind his counter just beating, for an hour and working for an hourly wage. He says, I need to find some way to create a residual income, something that I can count on to come in on a regular basis without having to work multiple hours to receive that income. He said he wanted a passive income. We call our business residual income. I don't really like the word passive, simply because passive means you don't do anything. In residual income, you can build an income base that'll pay you over and over and over again for a one-time effort. It seems passive, but it really takes a lot of work. any case, so this fellow in my business, he overhears this guy talking in conversation. He says, I think I can help you with that. He said, what? He says, I think I can help you. I think I can help you build an income that is residual. He says, really? He said, what is it? He said, well, he said, that's what I do for a living. He says, I'm retired. He said, and so when I run across people who want to make a residual income, then that's what I do. I specialize in helping people create a residual income. And the guy asked my friend, well, what is it? Because they always ask, what is it? Tell me about it. Tell me what you're doing. Let me make up my mind. And he says, no, actually, he said, instead of me trying to explain it to you, he says, I've got a visual presentation, takes about half an hour. And if we can sit down together, I can show you what we're talking about. And maybe it'll be for you. Maybe it won't. So when you're talking about your business idea, particularly in network marketing, don't try to explain it to them, because you want to do something that's duplicatable. Remember the reproduction stage? And so he said, let's sit down, let's get on a Zoom, or let's sit down in person, and let me show you visually what it is. Image is what people think we are. Integrity is what we really are. So what he was saying was, I want you to see my business model the way I saw it, so that you can understand it the way I understand it. That was a great way to approach this fella. And so now we're working on getting with him so we can sit down with him for a half an hour and show him what we're doing. Show him, not tell him. Because in a visual presentation, it goes in through the eyes. I'm going to tell you right now, if you can get people to see what you're doing, if you're in a good business model, if people can see what you're doing and see you for who you really are, they'll trust you to know what you're talking about. Okay, let's move right along here. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to try to close this out here. Got a lot of material to cover, but I want to talk about 7 truths about integrity. And I've got some bullet statements here. I'm just going to kind of go through them here and talk about some truths about integrity, because I've said it before, I'll say it again. Integrity is the most important ingredient of leadership. If people do not trust you, you will not be able to be the leader that you want to be. People have to trust you, and it all comes down to being an honorable person and being having a degree of integrity. So the first truth the first thing that integrity does is it builds trust. We all know, those of us who are of a certain age anyhow, we all remember Dwight D. Eisenhower. He was the president of he was the Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Europe during World War II. He retired, became president of the United States. He was a great man, just a great man. I know I was born. Well, he was president during the time when I was young, so I won't tell you how long ago that was. Anyhow, so Dwight Eisenhower said this. This is a quote directly from him. He said, in order to be a leader, a man must have followers. So we've talked about that, haven't we? To have followers, a man must have their confidence. Hence, the supreme quality for a leader is unquestionable integrity. Without it, no real success is possible, no matter whether it is a section gang, a football team, in an army, or in an office. Integrity. People have to trust you. They have to trust you. All right, let me just see what else I've got here. That's a good one, because I don't want to belabor too much. If you don't have this book, I'm telling you, buy this book. Go on eBay, order the book. You can go to your local bookstore if you want to and spend $23 and buy this book over the counter, or you can go on eBay. There is somebody out there who bought this book who didn't have enough sense to follow its instructions, and said, well, I'm just going to sell it on eBay and I'll cut the price 80%, and they'll sell it to you for $4 or $5. So buy it on eBay. They're there. With shipping and handling, it's generally $4, $5, $6. Get it and get into it. All right, let's just see here. Let's go to the next one here. Integrity has high influence on value. Emerson says every great institution is the lengthened shadow of a single man. His character determines the character of the organization. Wow. Wow. Every great institution, think about the business that you work in or for or own. Think about the network marketing business that you are the leader of, your team. You may not be the big cheese in the whole company, but somebody in your network marketing business is following you. So every great institution is the lengthened shadow of a single man or a single person. His character determines the character of the organization. Your business will be a direct reflection of you. And if you are a person who exhibits high value, then your business will be just loaded with value. If you're some scoundrel, some rascal who can't be trusted, your business will be exactly the same way. And if you're in a customer services or business, your employees will treat your customers with disdain and disrespect, and will not put value into your customers, and your business is not going to make it. Our old buddy Will Rogers here in Oklahoma, he was one of our great thinkers, although he was really kind of a goofball. But he said this. He says people's minds are changed through observation, not argument. People do what they see. I don't endorse debate. I don't. I have never heard a debate that was ever won. Minds are not changed through debate. Now, we believe in our networking business, we believe that we have probably, in our opinion, the best income opportunity that there is on the market. Something else may come along that may beat it eventually. I thought we were in the best one in the company that we just came out of and went into this one. But it wasn't. It was a merger of the two. I thought our old company was the best, and come to find out that it had a lot of shortfalls that are being made up by the merger that we have with the new company. But in network marketing, but out in the marketplace, there are a lot of network marketing companies, and there are a lot of good network marketing companies where good people are involved with it, selling a good product, have a good customer base, they have a good marketing plan. There are some good network marketing companies out there. There are some pyramid schemes out there that'll take your money and leave you by the side of the road. But I do not endorse debating the virtues of one company against another. And the reason for it is because people's minds aren't changed by debate. I've listened to a lot of debates. Watch what the elections are coming up. Watch the debates. They'll get up there and argue and beat each other up and tell the whole world why their opponent should not be elected to that office. It's not so much why should I be elected to the office, but why my opponent shouldn't. You know, I'm the lesser of two evils. And by the time it gets to the end of the debate, you can't trust anybody, and you know that none of them are worth it or being in the office. But that's the only choice we've got. We saw a lot of that during the presidential debates, and I do not want to get into that. But don't get it if you're in a networking business. Don't beat up another company simply because they're not your company. Don't belittle another company to try to make your company look better. It doesn't work. If you belittle another company, if you lower your standards to belittle another opportunity, that makes your opportunity less attractive. Integrity facilitates high standards. Integrity facilitates high standards. Let me see, I've made a quote on here. Oh yeah, this reminds me, actually, you know, I want to take a step back. I want to take a step back to the influence. Many years ago in Germany, there was a Jewish family, and they were very involved in the Jewish tradition. Don't care what your religion is, doesn't matter to me. But they were Jews. They were Jewish, and they followed the Jewish tradition. Very strict. But being Jews, they were forced to move out of their community. They moved to another town. And the other town that they moved to was non-Jewish and did not have a synagogue. And so the father of the family decided that they were going to abandon their Jewish tradition, and they joined a Christian church. They joined the Lutheran church and went from the Jewish tradition to the Lutheran Christian tradition and shunned all of the traditions that they had lived in. And of course, this stunned the family. The family asked why, asked the father. He was the one who decided, and they had a son who became disillusioned with the whole idea of religion, whether Jewish religion or a Christian religion or whatever. Later, he left Germany. He moved to England and decided that religion was really just an opiate, wasn't something that you could really build your life on. And so he began to seek other ideals. And he wrote a book about it. And the name of this young boy that was disillusioned by his father's lack of integrity was Karl Marx. Karl Marx was the founder of the communist movement. Now, what does that say? That says that his father turned his back on the integrity of his faith, and his children, his family, paid the price for it. But also the entire world has paid the price because one man lost his integrity. You influence people. Okay, now let me step on to step 3. Integrity facilitates high standards. John D. Rockefeller Jr. said, I believe every right implies a responsibility, every opportunity an obligation, every possession a duty. Leaders can give up everything except responsibility, either for themselves or for their organizations. If you are in a leadership position, you are responsible for your organization. You may not be, like I said, the big kahuna of the whole network marketing business that you're in, but you have under your influence people who look to you for integrity. I'm not trying to be preachy. I'm trying to be as less preachy as I possibly can, but there's a balance between rights and responsibility. I learned years ago that I could transfer authority to someone. If I had a job and I had a crew that I was working with, I was responsible for the training of over 300 people. I could assign some of that training authority to another sergeant somewhere to train somebody else to do something. And I could give him or her the authority to train a crew of people to do something. And although they had the authority to train, I was still responsible for the training. It was still my responsibility to make sure that they were training properly. I had to have a standard, a high standard that they could follow. I hope that makes sense. So there's a balance between rights and responsibility. You may have the right to lead, but more importantly, you are responsible for the leadership. You are responsible for what goes on in your group. Let's move along. I'm getting preachy. 4, integrity results in a solid reputation, not just an image. Image is what people think we are. Integrity is what we really are. It's like it's like the story of these 2 old women, and they're walking around in the graveyard, and they come across a tombstone, and on the tombstone is an inscription, and the inscription says, "Here lies John Smith, a politician and an honest man." And one of the old ladies turns to the other and says, "Isn't it awful that they had to put 2 people into the same grave?" So that was a contradiction of terms. Here lies a politician and an honest man. That's neither here. You know, when you really think about a solid reputation, not just an image, all of us have seen pictures of the Great Wall of China. We all have. And you can, in Great Wall of China, they can see it. I mean, they can look down on from the satellites and actually see it. And I don't know how much detail they can do. Probably pretty good now. But the Wall of China was built. The Great Wall of China was built over a long period of time using a lot of resources and a lot of manpower. And the whole idea behind the Wall of China was not as a tourist attraction. It was actually designed to protect China from invasion from other countries. Yet, during the first 100 years of the existence after the completion of the Great Wall of China, China was invaded 3 times. And the invaders didn't go over the wall, and they didn't dig under the wall. All 3 times, they got through the wall by bribing guards who were supposed to be protecting the entrances through the Great Wall of China. And so they were, the invaders would bribe the protectors to get through the wall so they could invade China. And history records that they were invaded 3 times. The Chinese were so busy relying on the walls of stone, they forgot to teach integrity to the children. And so the guards took a bribe and let the people through. It's terrible. It's just terrible. There's 3 questions that you need to ask, that we all need to ask ourselves. You can answer these in the yes or no. The first question is this: are you the same person no matter who you're with? Yes or no? Are you the same person right now, no matter who you're with? When you're by yourself or you're with somebody, are you the same person now that you are with somebody else? Yes or no? You can answer yes or no. Yes or no. Do you make decisions that are best for others when another choice would benefit you? When you're working in your network marketing business or in your regular business or in your family, doesn't matter what leadership position you have assumed, do you make decisions that are best for others when another choice would benefit you? Yes or no? And third, are you quick to recognize others for their efforts and contributions to your success? This is a key to integrity. No matter how big you get in your business, you do not get there by yourself. It's like the turtle sitting on a fence post. You're going down a country road, and there's fences, and if you look over and you see a turtle sitting on top of a fence post, you can be absolutely sure he didn't get there by himself. Okay. The first question has to do with consistency. Are you the same person no matter who you're with? Consistency. The second question: do you make decisions that are best for others when another choice would benefit you? That's a question of choices. And the last question is: are you quick to recognize others for their efforts and contributions to your success? Yes or no? That's a question of credit. I have been in positions before. I've told you before that when I worked for Coca-Cola, I was given a task to it took me several weeks, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And I was given the task of meeting with customers and taking orders and doing, there was a whole bunch of criteria. And then to write a report on how we could best serve those customers, how we could streamline some of our processes, how we could serve the customer better, how we could sell more product, make more money for the company, and yet have a better customer relations base. And I did this, and I wrote this long report detailing this activity that I had taken over that. It was either a 2 or 3 week period. I turned it in to my manager, who liked what I did, said, "This is great." She took it to higher management. They loved it. They adopted it. But she claimed credit for the report. I was never recognized as the author of that report. And the changes that were made in the company were made from suggestions that I made, from observations that I did. And yet I was never, ever given credit for that report. And it didn't take long for that to sour me against that environment. And it wasn't too long after that I retired from the company, simply because of the lack of integrity that was displayed. Let's move along. Question number 5, or the statement number 5: integrity means living it myself before leading others. We cannot lead anyone else further than we can lead ourselves. It's entirely up to me to be the best me that I can be. I cannot ask other people to read books and take in good, positive information, to go to events, to present our marketing plan. I can't ask other people to do that if I'm not doing it. I have to lead myself before I can lead you. You have to lead yourself before you can lead other people. Too many times we're so concerned about our product that we shortcut the process. You don't want to shortcut the shortcuts. There are no shortcuts to integrity. You either are you or you aren't. Doesn't mean you're going to know everything. You're not. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about network marketing. There really is. But the people who work with me in my business know that I don't know everything. That's integrity. But also, if they have a question that I don't know, I can find the answer. I know how to find the answer. That's why we have a system. In network marketing, we have a system. We teach the system. We live by the system. And if I go outside the system, that's a real bad example for my business. Years ago, this is something that if you're of a certain age, you'll remember the day that the space shuttle Challenger exploded. It was a big media event. Challenger was going to take off, had the 7 astronauts inside, and it took off. And only a few minutes into the flight, it exploded, killed everybody on board, fell to the ground. It was absolutely horrible. And when they did the investigation, they found a quality control report that had been submitted to NASA that said that the shuttle was not fully prepared for the mission. There were systems glitches. There were faults in the system that endangered the shuttle. And yet the people who were in charge of the production disregarded those warnings and said the show must go on. And it resulted in the loss of 7 lives and millions of dollars. But 7 people died because somebody who was in a leadership position ignored the safety warnings. And we are in a business that deals with people's lives. And nobody's going to die because of network marketing. But lives can be affected. And you as a leader have to have the integrity to stand up to it. It's like the basketball coach who tells his group, who tells his team, play like you practice. Play like you practice. If you'll play like you practice, then you'll win the game. Basketball teams play what, a 45-minute or 1-hour game? I don't know what it is. But they practice for 10 to 12 hours for a 1-hour game. Play like you practice. So that's what we need to do. I had a school teacher when I was a kid. I had a school teacher. I took Spanish because you had to take a language. I took Spanish in school, and my school teacher didn't speak Spanish. She didn't know anything. She didn't speak it. She tried to teach us to speak Spanish. It didn't take. She didn't have what it took to instill confidence in her class to learn meaningful Spanish. Let's just go on. Number 6, integrity helps a leader be credible, not just clever. When you get into business, particularly in network marketing business, there are people who rise up through the different levels, and it's done through work. It's done through building teams of people. But just because a person reaches a certain pin level doesn't necessarily mean that they're a leader. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they maintain integrity. So you got to watch in leaders, people in leadership, that they're credible, not just that they can spit out cliches. Leaders who are sincere don't have to advertise their sincerity. Leaders who are sincere is visible in everything that they do, and their integrity will rub off on the people that they lead. Ann Landers, who was a columnist years ago, said people of integrity expect to be believed. They also know time will prove them right and are willing to wait. If you are a leader and you lead with integrity, people are going to follow you, and you will prove through your integrity that you deserve to be in that leadership position. And the seventh truth about integrity is that integrity is a hard-won achievement. Integrity is not a given factor in everybody's life. Integrity is something that you have to develop. Get this book and read it. You don't have to take my word for all of this. Get this book and read it. Integrity is not a given factor in everybody's life. There are people who just absolutely are not honest. And if somebody like that gets into a leadership position, they cannot build a business based on integrity. You know, one of my favorite movie stars, now don't take me wrong on this. One of my favorite movie stars was John Wayne. Oh, I love me some John Wayne movies. I've got a whole collection of John Wayne movies. I love his swagger, and I love the way he talks, and I love the way he punches the bad guy in the nose. I love all of that. I love all of his old war movies, the Flying Leathernecks and the Sands of Iwo Jima, and all of those movies that he made. All of those movies. I love John Wayne movies, and he's always up front. He's Sergeant Stryker, he's the leader of the platoon, or he's the colonel in Vietnam. He's all of these things, and yet John Wayne never served a day in uniform. He portrays a military person and a leader in a leadership position, but never one day, as far as I know, never one day actually wore an active duty uniform in the military. Doesn't have anything, doesn't take away from his acting abilities or the message that he was given, but just know that there are people who will be in your life who portray leadership and may portray integrity, but underneath there could be some hidden agenda, and you got to watch for that. The meaning of integrity in our modern day society has been eroded. You can see it everywhere. It's being eroded in Hollywood. Can't even hardly watch a movie anymore. It's gotten so lousy. Wall Street and Main Street, the lack of integrity is really it's questionable. There's a poem. I've inserted a lot of poetry into these studies, but there's a poem that the title of it is Judas. And it says, still as of old, men by themselves are priced. For 30 pieces, Judas sold himself, not Christ. When Judas betrayed Jesus Christ, he didn't sell Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. He sold his own integrity for 30 pieces of silver. He sold himself. Billy Graham said, integrity is the glue that holds our way of life together. We must constantly strive to keep our integrity intact. Let's wrap this up. Followers expect 4 things from their leaders. I'm going to shoot through them, and then we're done. The first thing that people expect from their leaders is honesty. They expect honesty. Honesty. There's a book that I would recommend that you get. It is a book called The Leadership Challenger, written by James P. Cozies and Barry Poser. And these are the 4 things that they say followers expect from their leaders. And the first one is honesty. The second is competence. As a leader, you need to know your business. Does not mean you have to know everything there is to know about your business, but you need to be competent in your leadership. You have to be somebody that people can look at, go to, seek counsel, seek advice, and know that the answer you give them is a competent answer. People expect their leaders to have vision. I say it every time. Without a vision, the people perish. Without you in a leadership position having a vision for your business, for your group, your organization is not going to survive. You've got to have a vision, and people have got to be able to come to you and see through your eyes your vision for your organization. And then the final thing that you have to have is inspiration. Sometimes it's perspiration, isn't it? But inspiration. I want to be an inspiration to the people who follow me in my business, and I look for inspiration for the people that I follow. And I know within myself that if I can't find these 4 aspects of leadership in the people that are ahead of me in my business that I look to for advice and for leadership, if I can't find honesty and competence and vision and inspiration, then I'm going to tell you the truth about it. I look for somebody else. And so I want to be able to follow. I want to be able to exhibit these 4 leadership qualities in me so that people can follow me. A conviction is a belief or a principle that you regularly model. So we need a conviction of honesty and competence and vision and inspiration. Let's finish with this. This is another poem. The truth is, you will only become what you are becoming right now. You will only become what you are becoming right now. If you are on a path that is leading you away from integrity, you need to turn around and get back on the right path, because you are becoming what you are becoming. Here's the poem. Though you cannot go back and make a brand new start, my friend, anyone can start from now and make a brand new end. Let's all take a look at our lives, and don't beat yourself up if you have shortcomings. We all do. But see where you are on the integrity scale and be the best you can be. Next session, we're going to get into chapter 4. Chapter 4 is not near as preachy as this one. Okay. And I hope that you got something out of this lesson, simply because integrity is vital. It's absolutely vital. But we're going to be looking in our next session at creating positive change. And leaders who can create positive change have passed the ultimate test of leadership. I'm going to end with this. I think I've said I'm going to end with this 3 times already. Those of you who don't know me personally, who only watch this on YouTube, or if you just happen to have run across this session, this is me, as old and ugly as I am. I'm Jim Laughter. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Been in network marketing for a while. I'm retired from the Air Force. I spent 20 years active duty in the Air Force. After retiring from the Air Force in 1991, I spent 28 years in corporate sales, so I've been around the block a time or two. Married to my sweet wife, Wilma. Wouldn't be married to anybody else for any other reason. She's the love of my life. She's the one that keeps me on the straight and narrow. We have 3 marvelous children, 5 wonderful grandchildren, and 2 very good daughters-in-law. You can find me on Google me. If you don't know who I am, you can Google me. I'll pop up. Look at me. I'll go to Amazon. I've written 13 novels, 6 of which have been bestsellers. Got a couple of Western short stories published. I've been involved and published in a couple of anthologies. So as far as the publishing is concerned, that sort of thing. I love books. I hang around books all the time. That's all I do, is hang around books, seems like. And so when I do these book reviews, I do these out of some knowledge and some credibility. I'm a member of I'm a member of the largest private writers groups in Oklahoma. Been in business for a little over 70 years now, I believe. And I've won the Night Writer of the Year award in 2014, which is just the most outstanding writer of the year for that. And then was inducted into the Night Writer Hall of Fame in 2021. I'm the 7th person to be inducted into that Hall of Fame in the 70-year history of the club. I've served as different officer positions: president, editor, communications officer, that sort of thing. All right. I think that's all of that. I'm going to stop my screen share and get back to the nitty-gritty here, and we'll just wrap this up. I hope this has been a good lesson for you. I'm going to have to go back and see if I rambled too much. I have no idea how long it took, because I forgot to set a timer. But however long it takes, that's however long it takes. And when it comes to you building your business, as far as if you're in networking, it's just going to take how long it takes. To learn what you need to learn in your business and to become competent in your business model is going to take however long it takes. Don't get in a big rush. Set a standard. Find a system. Find a system that works, and work that system. And don't get in a big hurry to shortcut the shortcut. You don't want to do that. Okay. Make sure that whatever you're doing in your business, you're doing it with integrity and honesty, and that'll take care of just about everything else. It really will. So I'm going to close this out. If you need me for any reason, you've got my phone number. It was up on the screen. You can run it back and free and whatever. Give me a call, 918-510-4583. That phone number does go to a voicemail system. If my phone doesn't recognize it, it will not ring through to me. Sometimes my voicemail won't even take it if it thinks your phone is a spam. So you may want to text me first at that number, or email me at jimwilma.laughter@gmail.com. JIMWILMA.LAUGHTER@gmail.com. And I will get that message, and I will contact you if you have questions, particularly if you're looking a way to build a residual income. I can show you a business model that can create for you if you're coachable and if you're willing to do the work. I will not chase you to get something done. But if you're coachable and willing to do the work, I can help you create a residual income that will absolutely change your life. It takes about a half an hour to sit down and look at the visual. Remember, we talked about visual. I will not explain it to you over the telephone. If you want to see what we're doing, contact me and we'll schedule a time to get together. That's my spiel. Y'all have a great day. I've enjoyed this. I hope you have as well.